Lupita is gorgeous. Absolutely. I don't think I was ever like arguing that, but I think there was something very there was an undertone to it. There was a weird undertone to it.
It's different when it's coming from the white people saying Lupita is beautiful when they say it to when Beyonce says it in her Brown Skin Girl song. When Beyonce says it, I believe it.
And welcome to another episode of the She Sessions. I'm your host Hadya with my lovely co-host Mariam Rufaro.
Hey.
And today we are going to be talking about a topic that we talk about a lot amongst ourselves, and that is colorism. And for me, I feel like it's something that we also talk about a lot in my country because we feel like it's caused a lot of issues. And we all know the boring history, and we always connect it, to colonialism, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of have always been interested in knowing how it's like in other African countries and if it's the same. I just want to know for you guys, did you grow up? Well, before I go into that, if you don't know what colorism is, it's basically...
Oh, please.
It's basically, people having prejudice and discrimination against people who have darker skin tones. And the question is, for me, it's always been interesting how Black people see each other and if they discriminate and have prejudice amongst themselves, based on skin tones. And so that's kind of like my question to you guys. I really want to know, like, how is it like in Zimbabwe? Do you guys have this? Same, Nigeria, just.
Girl, of course we do, actually. And it's actually annoying because it's like, I hate the fact that I'm not going to be able to talk about this without bringing the feminist in me because it's kind of related. So in my country specifically, and I know it's also like that in many other countries, colorism only applies to women for some reason, because the perfect men for most of us is tall, dark, and handsome, right? So if a man is dark, they're desirable.
Shout out to light-skinned guys.
But I love that you say that, because light-skinned guys, even on Twitter, on Zim Twitter, or let me just say Southern African Twitter, because you see it on Zambian Twitter, you'd see it on South African Twitter, you'll see it sometimes on Kenyan Twitter, but so there's always jokes around light-skinned men and them being feminine and them being basically women, and it's not being said in a good way. It's being said, oh, if you date a light-skinned man, you're gonna be competing for skincare products. You're gonna be, Wow. It's always them kind of jokes. So basically to say you don't want to date a light-skinned man because a light-skinned man is going to be asking you to pay for the bill. A light-skinned man will be also buying Fenty while you're looking for Fenty, them kind of jokes. And it's derogatory, I get it. But in that same breath, a dark-skinned man is desirable, but a dark-skinned woman is not desirable. A light-skinned man is blah, but a light-skinned woman is it. So I get confused. I get so confused.
But to be honest, it doesn't affect their lives and livelihood. That's the thing.
Part.
The way it affects dark-skinned women. So light-skinned men aren't affected in the way, yes, maybe off the bat, people aren't initially checking for them. But also, we all grew up crushing on Bow Wow and Chris Brown. Literally. Do you know what I mean? So it's not there's no hate towards it. Whereas for dark-skinned women, it actually does affect like your livelihood. Like when you think of like the movie industry, so think of Nollywood. Like Nollywood has improved a lot, but I just remember growing up and there was always the light-skinned, very soft, beautiful person, successful woman that was in distress, and the dark-skinned, evil stepmother or evil sister or evil wife, and that was never portrayed with a light-skinned woman. It was always And, you know, when you think of like video vixens, it's always like very light-skinned, almost racially ambiguous, you know, girls that got those roles, whereas like the darker-skinned ones, I mean, these days, right, because a lot of conversation is happening, some things are changing, but still, again, I think that's the difference is like with light-skinned men, I don't see that it's affecting like their livelihood the way it affects darker-skinned women.
Yeah,
because it just starts and ends as jokes.
Yeah.
But for dark-skinned women, it's literal insults. Like you'll be calling names. There are names for dark-skinned women.
Yeah.
But light-skinned men, it's just that emoji, you know, not emoji, meme. Like when someone posts their light-skinned picture and they're a man, you see people commenting that meme with a hand like this to just basically insinuate that they're gay, which is not wrong if they are. So it's not an insult at the end of the day. It's just jokes. But for dark-skinned women, it's not just jokes. They are insulted.
It's not.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like me growing up, and I think you guys already know, like I didn't grow up in my country, but I kind of knew kind of the narrative or how people perceived the darker skinned people. And it was always that the lighter skinned people somehow felt like they were better than the darker skinned people. Why? I don't know. We do know part of it relates to the whole them feeling like they look more like the Arabs. And I think this is also like a very complex conversation. I don't want to get into too much detail about it right now. But yeah, like at some point in time, you know, women also kind of believed that they wouldn't get married, you know, if they weren't light
Absolutely,
skinned.
yeah.
And that's where, you know, the issue of skin lightening creams and all of that, which I feel like the younger generation now is kind of more aware and doesn't do those things as much as they were done before. But growing up when I was younger, I saw like, you know, my aunts and their neighbors just using these creams. Like it was the most common thing. And if you're not using them, like, how are you staying like that shade? You know, you need to be lighter to be beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, looking back, I feel sorry that people felt that way, but I'm also glad that I'm in a place where I have the awareness, and I'm grateful that this is not part of, you know, like me growing up. Like I don't do that, you know, and the young people that are my age, they also, a lot of them don't do this anymore. So we have the awareness. But it's just, I don't know, like, was it a thing also in your country? Do people do those things? That's also interesting for me.
Absolutely. I have a question, though. Maybe you are better to answer it.
What's your question?
So, you know, the whole thing I just described now, like, the goal is to have a man who's tall, dark, and handsome. I don't know if it's just a Southern African thing, because I've seen men bleaching, and most of them are from West Africa. I'm sorry. Not all of them, obviously, but I have met men with a bad bleaching job, and when they talk to me, like, and then first of all, they'll be trying to talk to you, like trying to talk to a homie with, you know, dark ass knuckles and stuff.
Oh my god!
Because my thing also is, if you're gonna bleach, do it. It's your body, your rules, whatever. But do a good job at it, you know. In my opinion, do it, but do a good job. You know, you're not gonna walk up to me, obviously showing that you're bleaching. But I've met men, and then they tell you, so far in Germany, I've had an encounter with two men who I'm sure they were bleaching, and both of them were from Congo, and I was just like, is the right man, or like, is the trophy man not the same for all of us? Like, don't we all want dark, or what's going on?
Yeah.
Why is a man bleaching?
Yeah, I think now that you said that, because when you said it, I was like, in Nigeria, this isn't a thing. But now that you said that, in Francophone Africa, I think some countries like I've seen this, or I've heard of this. I wouldn't know why they do this, but I have seen this. Interesting. I think here's the weird thing that people, I don't know if it's called a silly thing that people do. People don't understand. So most times what I see, right? So when you say so there's also like dark skinned guys wanting to be with really light skinned people, or you know, in the ultimate case, maybe even like a white person, so that their kids don't look like them or the people that give birth to them. So they can have like lighter skinned kids. So now I think even with people that bleach, I think sometimes they forget that when you have your baby,
you're not bleaching your DNA.
Your kids are not gonna come out bright. You know,
your DNA is not bleached.
Yeah. So I think sometimes they forget this. And like I've heard crazy stories of people actually now bleaching their baby, like kids.
No.
Yeah, like there's this one that blew up a while ago in like Nigerian Twitter and stuff, and I think a mom was bleaching like her 4-year-old and something, and then the child developed like something. I can't remember. I don't know if it was cancer, but something really, really bad, like a health. Again, it's like it's very layered. It's very deep.
Yeah. How much do you have to hate yourself such that you don't even want to see yourself in your child? Like, so this is like, obviously, so the mom has bleached, obviously, in this instance. So she's like, I don't want to see myself anyway. I have deleted that part of me that was dark. Now I will bleach my child as well.
Yeah. Some of them haven't even bleached, but in their minds, this is how I give my child a better chance in life than me or something. Yeah, crazy.
I kind of get it though. Yeah. Because the colorism does affect a person.
Yeah, but let's think about it though. Okay. Sorry. Apart from like trying to get men, so from the female perspective, right? So trying to get men, sometimes it does affect like you getting a job. Because I can really see like in Nigeria, again, I didn't work in Nigeria for very long. So I'm only speaking about my very short, small experience because I know people will come for me. But like you sometimes walk into like an office and everybody looks a certain way. In fact, there's this thing they say about like if you see a really light skinned girl, they'll be like, go and apply to get a job in a bank because you get a bank job. And literally when you walk into like a banking hall, you're like, why is everybody the same shade of yellow? You know, like it's like, and there's that stereotype of because the light skinned girls are the ones that would bring us more business. So and basically they're not being hired for what they can do. Well, I mean, it is what they can do, but like not like their qualifications and stuff, but because they are able to attract men, which I feel, first of all, it does a huge disservice to them because I'm pretty sure a lot of them have invested so much in themselves to even like get there, but it kind of is just reduced to the color of their skin, right? So basically, if I'm really qualified for a bank job, then I don't get it because I'm not yellow enough to attract men. It's a wild thing.
But also, I don't get it. It's like, so I get in the marketing sector of things, like when it comes to products, there's this statement that goes around like sex sells, right? So in this case, it's giving the picture of, it's not just that, it's also your color. Because I could be the most gorgeous woman, but my sex is not selling because I'm dark, probably, in this case.
But I think I kind of touched on this when we had, I don't know if it was the episode with PY or our own episode on feminism, but it might have been the episode with PY where I said, the thing is, again, some men, right? Or the image of like sex and what is sexy is, you know, white female, right? And this is why I was saying that obviously when it comes to men, like sex is still important, so they will take sex from you as a black person, but who do they actually want to be with? And when you maybe think of like their fantasies, or even take it that far, it's like, you know, what are they imagining, right? It's like light skin or white woman with flowy hair and things like that. And so I'm saying like Nigerian women, it's going very difficult to separate them from like wigs, because I think there are many of us that are really conditioned to really just see ourselves with like flowy hair, and this is what makes you beautiful, right? I've actually had I think I've had some crazy things. I've actually had one of my male friends tell me once, when I had like braids, but like cornrows, right? So I did just simple cornrows. I was in uni then. I didn't want to do too much. I did used to wear a lot of wigs. Granted, but sometimes I'll just like braid my hair, and I mostly had my natural hair out. So this time I just had like simple like cornrows, and it was really simple and stuff. And he said, yeah, this hair looks really cheap. And yeah, and doesn't look nice. Like,
do you know
like
the prices of doing hair in this country?
And you know when you're like, okay,
cheap.
Like, yeah,
who's
like,
paying for it? Who's
basically that
cheap?
is not something that he would associate with someone that's like really, you know, beautiful and maybe up to standard and stuff. But like, you know, light skin, flowy hair. Again, I'm not light skin, but like, you know, when I have like a wig on or something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you know, it's for me personally, I see that media has obviously a lot to do with it. Even though nowadays they try to kind of like create a lot more diversity on shows and stuff, and show, you know, like you'll have the main character being a POC.
Now I will explain in a bit why she's laughing.
You know, to kind of show that, okay, like the love interest can also be a girl from, you know, a black girl or an Indian girl or whatever. But I don't know. I think still the representation isn't enough. And that's the only way. The more black girls see themselves on TV, the more they're going to be more confident, and the world will also start to perceive them differently. Because perception, I think, first of all, it's about how you see yourself, and then that kind of projects, I think, into the world and reflects on how they'll see you. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mentioned Lupita earlier when we were talking, and I have to mention her
Oh my
again.
God. I'm about to get... yeah, let's get into it. But yeah.
So basically, I remember when we were in uni, Mariam used to have this beef with the fact that Lupita was kind of put on a pedestal as the face of Black beauty. And the thing is, what Mariam used to say is that, okay, she's a nice looking Black woman. She's not the most beautiful. Why have they chosen her to represent all of us? And I don't know, like, I remember the logic. Mariam had this logic that, you know, there's a lot of beautiful Black women. It's just that when they choose one person, you know, it's like, it's in Mariam's eyes, not the person that should be representing all of us.
First
It's very
foremost,
layered, yeah.
First and foremost, do you still have these sentiments, or have your sentiments changed so far? Because I have thoughts on it before you answer. I kind of see why.
So I haven't thought about it in a long time, but I think if you still say this now, I think my answer is still yes. I'm sorry.
But maybe, why? Like, okay. I want you to kind of unpack that.
Okay, yes. I know, obviously, when you look at it at face value, it sounds like I'm referring to her skin color, but I don't really think I was. But also, I was like much younger, so I don't know what I was thinking. But when I analyze it now, right, I think this is more of, you know how I see the world is very kind of black and white. It's like, I think black and white first for anything else. Like, I think for me, racism is a hotter topic for me than maybe misogyny, maybe, right? But very close, but I think racism gets to me more. So I think there's that thing of, and we're talking about when Lupita first came out. Also, Lupita now is not the Lupita that we had in 2012 when she did 12 Years a Slave and she came out, she broke out with that role, right? You know, back then she literally had, you know, one look, and she was very, like, now it's a bit more, you know, versatile. Like, she changes her look up a bit. But back then it was just this one look, you know, with her hair and her thing, basically all natural, right? And then it was like, oh, you know, this is it was literally, I think it was the most beautiful Black. And I'm like, but why? I think I couldn't understand that part. What makes her the most beautiful? Is it just because they saw a Black woman with her natural hair, right? Is this the reason why she is the most beautiful? But then I think I was also thinking of what the consequences of that was, right? So you know how it's layered, and I'm not even sure I can articulate it properly. But I don't know if you've ever been around, like, sometimes when you're around white people, some white people, obviously, and every time they want to refer to a black person or an African, they would say, oh, you know, I was with this really beautiful person, and it's just because, like, they were just referring to the fact that they were around a black person or an African, right? So, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Maybe that's their own way of, I don't know, trying to compensate for something, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's very, it doesn't actually do anything.
Maybe a bit pretentious.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything. I think there's a book Chimamanda has, I can't remember which one, where she actually wrote, there was a scene like that there was this person she was always with, and every time the person would refer, she'd be like, oh, there's this really gorgeous, it's really beautiful. I think it's an Americana, right? And then one day she just said, no. Why? Because she's black.
Exactly.
I think that for me, so because there was that thing, because I'm like, when we take that, right, and saying, this is, because I think it was more of a thing of, this is what black women should look like, as opposed to just appreciating that we are versatile, like we look like so many different things at the same time. But it's like, this is what we should look like. I think that's where I kind of had some type of an issue with it. Should it really, again, I was also young, right? But I think when I think about it now, because like, I think your question was valid, then who else should it be? Obviously, I don't know. She is gorgeous. Like, Lupita is gorgeous. Absolutely. I don't think I was ever like arguing that. But I think there was something very, there was an undertone to it.
Yeah.
There was a weird undertone to it of, which again, I can't also place my hand on it, but there was just a weird feeling about it when like, it was very like patronizing. Like,
and also, I think in that same context, it's different when it's coming from the white people saying Lupita is beautiful. It's different when they say it to when Beyonce says it in her Brown Skin Girl song. Yeah. When Beyonce says it, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a different undertone. Yeah. It's literally in the context of appreciation. I'm appreciating and uplifting, which is very, very different from this most really beautiful.
Yeah, I do kind of get it. You know what I was thinking when you mentioned the whole thing? I was thinking about how here in Germany, and of course people are going to come and say, yeah, why should they? But it's kind of how in the drugstores in DM Rossmann, there's many shades of the white foundations. For the black foundations, you're lucky if there's two.
It's always just one, man. And which Rossmann do you go to? There's just one.
Now in Cologne they try. Sometimes they do be having two. Well, so that's how I actually buy my foundation. By the way, I mix the two colors the only two colors that are in the drugstore. And the one that's always there is the dark one. So I know for BH Cosmetics, for example, they literally sell the darkest shade, nothing else in the range. So I do get it. It's like you it's almost sounding like you want to see us in one tone, in one shade, but we are not. We are not. And in that same breath, I also say I love seeing it because at least it's putting attention on the beauty of the darker skinned people, especially women, because they've been bashed for the longest time. So when they are more appreciated like this, even though it's fake, I'm still here for it because you're still putting them on a pedestal. Even if your pedestal is fake, someone is going to see that and actually put them on a true pedestal. A little black girl who's dark like that is going to see it and actually believe that that's a pedestal that they also deserve to be on, and it's uplifting. So do what you gotta do. I'm still here for it.
100%. If you guys were to have daughters, would you buy them white dolls?
No.
I mean,
that was so quick.
It's simple because
absolutely not.
I think even for me growing up, and I didn't realize this then, my mom didn't let me play with white dolls.
Really?
Okay. No, and I think it's something she did consciously, but it's not something. I wish she communicated it to me, but I don't think she didn't. But it was literally just growing up and then finding like a stash of dolls that we had gotten as gifts that were never given to us.
Interesting.
Ever. Like it was just never given to us. And again, we didn't play with a lot of dolls, granted, but she was like very intentional about just They don't need this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it obviously now, but I wish it also kind of took time to explain it, right? Like, obviously we lived in Nigeria, so racism isn't really something that she had to talk about. But she herself had lived in France for years, like before she had us. So she had gone through some of that. So I think that's where that came from. But like for me is easy. I wasn't even trained, like I wasn't brought up with white dolls. So yeah.
My sister doesn't buy her daughter white dolls.
Shout out to her.
And
Big ups.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, growing up, I did have a lot of white dolls. But then thinking of how the way I saw things as a child, I'm not going to lie to you. I honestly don't remember really deeply thinking about it. But maybe it still subconsciously affected me. I have no idea. Yeah. One thing that is kind of funny to me is, you know, back then in the 90s, the Spice Girls were like a thing, you know, and we loved them so much, me and my sister, and I really wanted one of the dolls. And the doll that I chose was like the white blonde one, you know, even though there was like Scary Spice.
Yeah.
I went for like the Baby Spice, and I think about this a lot because now I definitely, you know, I'll take the black one any day, every day. Yeah. But back then, as a kid, for some reason, I was just drawn to the blonde, white, blue-eyed doll.
Because that's what you were conditioned to believe, that's beautiful.
Which is kind of crazy when I think about it. I mean,
but you know what I also have a problem with? Comedians, and I'm even going to name drop comedians who make jokes around their blackness and their dark skin. I'm going to name drop Mr. Michael Blackson is his name. Okay. He's called Michael Blackson, I think.
I don't know this one.
I don't know him either.
He's a stand-up comedian, and he's always making jokes around how...
is he German or Black American?
No, he's Black American. He's Black African. How do I say this? This is also another construct I don't understand. He's African and Black American.
Confused.
He's African.
Okay, he has one African parent.
No,
one
he's
Black American.
from Africa, but he's now American.
Okay.
But we know how Black Americans...
Get it. Like his first gen?
No, not first generation.
But
it could even be second generation.
Where's he from in Africa?
I think he's Nigerian
So
originally. His parents are Nigerian, but he grew up in America, so he knows American
so he's
culture.
African American.
So he's African American,
okay.
but in the sense of African American, not African American. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no. I get you.
You just confused me. No, but we... Nah, the ones who got it.
Okay, go on.
So he's always making jokes about how this one show of his that went. I think that's what actually brought him fame. Where he was talking about how when he was a kid or something, or it's just a joke around how people be like, "You're so black, you look like under the bed. Like you're so black, you look like you are a minute to midnight and stuff." And I'm like, people be laughing, right?
It's not funny.
And he's always saying,
but I
white
hate
people,
it because exactly my point. I hate how we make these jokes ourselves.
Yeah,
it's okay. So how am I going to then tell a person, hey, it's not okay to think like that when we have our own joking about these things?
Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
I have a big issue with that. I really do.
100%.
I'm two types of way about it. Like, I'm in between when it comes to this. It's kind of the way they say, yeah, if you guys use the word on yourself, then other people can use it on you too.
No.
But no,
you cannot.
Yeah, but then should we use it on ourselves? That's the thing. So I'm kind of like that about it.
But they want to use it on themselves.
I don't know. I think that one is also for me. For me, it's a bit tricky. Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, I think if he's a comedian and he says those type of things, I would look at his life, right? What does his life look like? Like, what kind of girls is he? What kind of girls does he associate with? Do you get? So, is it just comedy, or does he actually hate himself?
Do
you know what I mean?
I never looked into that.
That would kind of be like, okay, so this one has issues, or it's just jokes. Again, nothing's ever just jokes, but it's just jokes.
We can take it at face value.
Yeah.
just jokes.
Yeah.
JK, ha ha ha. LOL. Like literally forced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, how do we change the narrative for
Girl.
the kids growing up? Because we want to break this cycle of,
Black dolls are a start. Black dolls are
sure.
definitely a start. And I think if and when I have my own family with kids and stuff, I also would want to kind of control what they watch, the kind of shows they watch on TV. So I'm talking all the cartoons they watch, general shows that they watch. I want them to see more of themselves on TV, you know, and not in this narrative of, for example, how most movies and stuff surrounding Black women, it's always struggle, pain, suffering, da-da-da. Nah, I want y'all producers of the world to come up with new content where Black women, a dark-skinned woman is actually also thriving. Like, we just need more of that. So I would want to have my kids watch uplifting things. Even the art I hang in my house, I don't mind it being a big, big portrait of an afro. Things like that. I just want them to be surrounded by something familiar to them. And obviously, I can't control who they make friends with, but I also would want them to understand what certain friendships mean and the deeper meaning to certain things, you know. So obviously I'm not going to say, hey, you should only play with Black people, because that's also wrong. But if and when they do play around white people who are from different cultures, who are not Black, I also want them to understand you are still Black, right? I still want you to understand your Blackness, even though you are not in Black spaces. You still need, and I don't like this narrative people like to teach of we are only one race, I don't see color, because we are not there yet. Yeah. I know when we have healed the world one day, we will get there, but we are not there yet, so we can't use that statement as of now. So it's something that I would also want to teach my kids.
100%.
I'm a lot more pessimistic, unfortunately.
She's like, not in this
I don't think, like, I can't picture utopia. So, like, we actually heal the world. I can't picture it. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen. I just can't picture it. But I think a lot of what you said is obviously the way to go. I think we can just try, and we'll definitely, hopefully get there. But I'll say, don't forget that kids are not dumb. So kids learn from what you do and how you live your life more than from what you tell them.
True.
So even if I'm saying, yeah, this is a Black doll, play with the Black doll, things. And when I watch Love is Blind and Love Island, I'm supporting the white couple. That's good. That's a stronger influence on them than giving them Black dolls, right? Or if I say, you know, Black people are cool, you know, you have to love your culture. But again, I'm speaking more from my experience living in, you know, in a predominantly Caucasian country. But then, like, all of your friends are, like, not Black. I'm just saying that these are the things they will actually learn from. You can tell them from now till tomorrow. So a lot of things is the environment, what you're cultivating, right? So for me, what I'm trying to do, and again, I'm not saying this is foolproof, right? I have my friends, so you guys, and these are the people that Ayo sees around me, right? I'm not saying he's automatically going to, like, not having issues and, you know, love dark-skinned women, but this is what I'm actively, like, and I'm actually showing that, you know, these are my friends. I actually love these people. You know, your dad and I, we actually, you know, love each other. We're two dark-skinned people. But, like, it's showing that that I think he's going to learn from. Yeah. And just seeing that. And because that's where the conditioning comes from. Yeah. It's not so much, you know, here's a Black doll. Again, that's still going to do its own thing. And that has its own space. But I think the stronger influence that's going to compete with, you know, when he goes to school and somebody says something stupid. I think it's just that seeing authentically what it actually looks like, right? Yeah. Not just saying Africa is not one country, but actually taking him to different countries in Africa. Yeah. You know, like actually showing him, oh, this is Kenya. They have, you know, safaris and things. If you go to Lagos, you're not just going to see elephants and tigers. We don't have that, right? It's actually like having him experience that as opposed to just telling or, oh, in Africa, we don't live in trees. No, I'm actually going to take you and you're going to go and stay, in a very fancy hotel in Lagos to know that, okay, we do have wealth here as well. Yes, some people are poor, but, you go to Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof, there are people sleeping on the streets as well. Yeah. So it's like, those are the things like that would really, really matter, I think, at the end of the day. I'm just saying this to other people, like, since we have the responsibility now, right? So it's not just going to be about like what we say, but it's really about how we're living our lives, and because they just model after that, right? It's about also, I don't want to take it too long. Again, I think I've made my point. Let's just leave it there.
But I love the part you said, the child seeing that my parents love each other. I think that's the most important one. It's wow. Yeah. Because a lot of people who tend to hate themselves in a way that they end up with people from different cultures. If you trace the stories, it's just how they watched or never got to watch their parents loving each other, and also never trusted themselves enough to take the chance to try it out for themselves. So that's a very important one. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with both of you guys. It starts with self-love and what we see at home. Yeah. And that's kind of the task for us, I guess. Yeah. And the generation after us. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the POCs.
Go ahead.
Oh my God.
I know people will feel some type of way and probably come for me, but this is my opinion. It's my opinion. You don't have to agree with me.
Go ahead.
You don't have to attack me. If you don't agree with me, just scroll. Just keep it moving. But I kind of have an issue. And again, it's not like a big issue. It's just a slight issue. I kind of have an issue with these terms. BPOC, POC.
I only started hearing this when I moved to Germany. And in Germany, it's very important.
BPOC?
Biracial people of color.
Oh.
And in Germany, it's so important. Like, you can't talk about Black, or like just talk about Black people without carving this special space.
But like the term in German is like farbig, which is like
I hate colored. That's weird. Yeah. But my thing is, even in English itself, I have an issue with this because sometimes it's just giving me the idea of people wanting to run away from Blackness as much as they can. Because so when does Blackness start and end, and when does POC start and end? Because also we have people, light-skinned people, like in Zimbabwe, in South Africa. Don't even get me started. In South Africa, there are some people. I used to actually be friends with this girl. She super light. You would think she's biracial, but she wasn't. And she would even explain to you, tracing back her ancestry, Black people. But she was she didn't die. She's super light skin, but she's Black. But you will have a person from India, for example, who's even darker than me, but they are considered a POC. They're not Black, they are POC. Yeah. So my question is, where does Blackness start and end? Is it to do with the melanin? Is it to do with where you're from? Is it to do with who you are? Where does Blackness start and end? Yeah. And I feel like some of these terms for me, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say we should consider everyone Black, because in certain instances, everyone is considered Black. But also this separation, I don't get where it starts and ends. I just don't get it. And people also had a problem with Tyler, like the make me swear girl. In South Africa and in Zimbabwe, actually,
they call them colored.
They are colored. Yeah. Like, mixed race, biracial people call themselves colored. They are called colored. Okay. It's not derogatory at all. So there's also that, like, in the context of where you are. So now we are in Southern Africa. It's normal. It's okay. But you take that same context, put it in Germany, you put it in America. It's not okay. So I just don't get it.
But what's the issue they have with Tyler?
That she calls herself colored.
What she's supposed to call herself? Black?
She's Black. She's supposed to call herself Black because colored is derogatory in America, and people were saying she's benefiting from the American culture, so she should maybe conform to American culture.
I read somewhere that her ancestry is like
Indian.
Yeah.
So
so the colored people of South Africa, they have Indian ancestry somewhere, somehow. And they're actually, like, you even have the coloreds from Cape Town, they're called Cape coloreds. So there's also that separation of them from the rest of the colors in South Africa. And they are not colors in the sense that they are biracial. No. It's if you are to trace it, it has some Indian in it, But I'm just like,
no, I think it's kind of different from country to country, because from what I understand, again, I don't really 100% know, but in the USA, for example, if you have like the tiniest drop of black in you, then
you're black.
Yeah. And then I guess POC is just for
Europe.
I don't know.
Where do they use POC?
I don't know.
It's for like other, I think in the US they use it for like other immigrant, like for other races, I think, are like people of color. So there's like white people, people of color, and then black people.
But who is people of color and who's black?
So it's like
everyone else,
Latin American, Asians,
so Kamala is POC then?
Yeah, but she's also black because she has a black dad.
She has an ounce of melanin. So is it the melanin or is it where you're from? That's my question. So I don't know. Someone who,
but
you
know
is
what
politically
this points to? You know what this points to? I think it points to the silly or stupidity of race itself.
Exactly.
Like I think just every day we know like the whole race is a social construct. So even in itself, like language has to. Back in the day, it was literally, there were slaves that were black, and then there were, white masters, let's put it that way. So it was just, it was binary.
Black and white, yeah.
Right? So they didn't really think of a context where, I'm guessing.
Other people.
Yeah, so it's like, I think the whole concept is silly, but obviously it's firmly ingrained in our, I'll say, socio-political, systems or whatever, that we can't take it out. So every day it's going to keep trying to shift to accommodate. Like you said, they also maybe thought like, people of color is, everything else that is not black or white. But then now there's black and white. Where does that fit? Then we have to put in the B. And then tomorrow we don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be somebody that is from so mixed that they're from all five or seven continents. I don't know how they're counting it these days. What do you call that person? So I think it's that concept of race that doesn't make a lot of sense, but we kind of have to live with it. So, but I think to your first point of people use this to just distance themselves from blackness. Yeah, I think for sure that exists. Yeah,
because also you see people even from Africa. Like I was saying this off mic, like Somalians. Obviously, not all. Some of the Somalians will proudly come online and say we're not black. What are you then? So are they also POCs? Like, honestly, what are they?
Yeah.
Because I think I don't like the POC term sometimes because then it's just like, I think I prefer the time when it was just black and white and everyone else would proudly present themselves as what they are. So if you're Indian, you just say, hey, I'm of Indian heritage, or I'm of Korean heritage, I'm from this and this and that.
It was also tricky.
A Somali person would then just not, if they decide to say I'm not black, cool, I'll be black, I'm good. Like, then they just say I'm Somali. They don't need to, because in this construct, what are Somalis then? The ones that don't say they're black, what are they? Actually, please comment, because I don't get it.
It's a difficult topic.
I think the more mixed the world gets, so now, like you said, somebody technically is just Indian, but then if there's an Indian that was born and raised in Germany and they also identify as German, everything is becoming very confusing to the people that even created these constructs in the first place. Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Too
so
political.
In one sense, someone saying, someone telling someone that was born in Germany that, no, you're an Indian, excludes them from German culture, whereas this is all they know.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of catching up right now. I think the whole nonsense that was created is beginning to fall apart and is showing that it just doesn't make any sense. I think,
I don't know, man. Too much politics in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation can go on. It is very complex.
Yeah.
And I mean, these were our thoughts. You share your thoughts with us.
And we still want to know what Somalis are. Actually,
Please.
I'm very curious.
And I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I want to hear from Somalis themselves. What are you guys? Like, you're not black. You're not, in some instances, you're not African. Because sometimes I don't.
But is it kind of similar in Sudan? Are there Sudanese that also don't think that they're black?
It is really complex, and in Sudan, we do have that as well.
That people don't think they're black.
Some people, they believe they are Arabs. Their ancestors came, from the Arabian Peninsula, and they're like, and it's really messed up because Sudan is a very mixed country, I would say, and there are some tribes that have mostly Arabic, heritage or whatnot, but there are others who are purely black, and it's so bad to the point where, Sudan, we have 2 Sudans now.
Yeah.
And one of the issues that we had was kind of like it was ethno-religious, but it had a lot to do with ethnicity and background, and, where the North being the Arab kind of, or at least the identity was kind of, Arabic, and then you go to the South and it was purely Black African. Again, like I said before, it traces back to what the British did when they came. They segregated us, blah, blah, blah. And
I can't with y'all.
Yeah, it just cascaded into this endless, now there's an identity crisis for a lot of people. Me, one of them, like I said before, I grew up with Arabs, and the thing that I was told constantly was that I was not one of them. So for me to go back to my country and be like, see all of these people saying that, we're Arabs.
Like,
are you sure?
Which Arab?
Yeah. So it's a complex.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a complex topic, and
it is.
Identify as whatever you want to identify as.
But also make it make sense to some of us who also want to be politically correct.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be cancelled. I just want to
know the right thing to say.
I want to understand.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, share your comments, share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
And follow us on our social media. We have TikTok and Instagram. And Spotify. You can either listen to this episode on, well, you're listening to it already, but
or watching.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to it on Spotify, you can switch to YouTube and watch us, and vice versa. And we will see you, or you will see us
rather.
Yeah, next time.
Next time. Bye.
Bye.